The following is a sponsored program paid for by First Alliance Credit Union. Welcome to Good Money Moves, featuring Jenna Taubel from First Alliance Credit Union and Andy Brownell. Here's Andy Brownell on Rochester's News Talk, 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Welcome to Good Money Moves. I'm Andy Brownell, and I am, of course, with Jenna Taubel, the AVP of Marketing at First Alliance Credit Union. Hi, Jenna.
Hey, Andy.
Jenna, last week we talked about the wide variety of credit card options that are available out there. What are we covering today for our Good Money Moves topic?
Yeah, so this week's episode, we are revisiting a very important topic, and that is youth financial literacy.
Oh, yeah.
One of my favorite things to talk about on this show, actually. But specifically around this, we're going to talk about a really amazing opportunity that current members of First Alliance Credit Union have to help their kids learn hands-on financial literacy skills through a really exciting new partnership that we have with a financial technology company called Greenlight. Some of you may have heard of this awesome organization before. So high level, Greenlight is a family-focused money management app. It's really focused on helping kids learn to earn, save, spend, and share, things that we also preach all the time at First Alliance Credit Union when it comes to youth financial literacy. And to help bring this conversation to life today, I have invited Brandon Horne, the GM of partnerships at Greenlight, to join us in the conversation today. So, Brandon, why don't you just tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and your role at Greenlight real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, Jenna and Andy. So Brandon Horne, as you mentioned, I've been at Greenlight for about 5.5 years now. So I got to see, back in the day where, about 40 employees, really just trying to start making this thing work. I've always been on the partnership side. We've always had this belief that the best way to grow financial literacy is to get into the hands of as many customers, users, families as we can. And one great way to do that is partnering with folks like yourselves. And so I now oversee kind of everything post-sale. So implementations and onboarding and marketing, partner success, kind of all report up to me.
All right.
Awesome.
Well, maybe to start out with, Brandon, what's Greenlight?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think Jenna did a pretty fantastic job explaining it. But Greenlight is really a family tool to help parents teach their kids about money. We like to say that our mission is to help parents raise financially smart kids and to create a world where every child grows up to be happy and healthy in money and life, knowing that, money is a key stressor as you age. And we want to empower these kids with the tools that they need at a young age to help them be successful and confident, competent adults financially. And so the way we do that is via a debit card and app experience created for families. So it's meant to be extremely safe for kids. So parents can set spending controls, they can help design savings goals, they can manage chores and allowance all inside of that app. But everything that kid does is kind of governed by mom or dad through the app experience.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like Good Money Moves in an app.
Yeah, it is. Yes.
So the things that, Jenna, you and I have talked about when you're dealing with your kids to bring them into the world of dealing with money.
Yeah.
This kind of does it? Is that what you're saying? The idea that, well, I guess maybe, Brandon, does it move them along at an age-appropriate setting? Let's say you have a really young one. Is there a set of, I don't know, games or visuals or lessons that are taught and you advance forward to the point where you actually are dealing with real money? How does it work?
Yeah, for sure. So one of the things that we've learned over the last, number of years, 7 years or so, serving now over 6.5 million parents and kids across the U.S., is that parents all parent a little bit differently. And so rather than taking hardline rules around what's available by certain ages, we make feature sets available and allow parents to have that level of control. So, it's up to them whether or not they want to give their kid the debit card or they want to hold it in their own wallet. It's up to them whether or not they want to tie allowances to chores. Others, don't believe that that's necessary. They can do things like set the percentage of a kid's allowance that goes towards saving or spending versus giving. Philosophically, what we believe, though, is that learning by doing, so having access, to the physical aspects of money and actually creating the savings goals or learning what it means to earn money through chores or allocating things to giving if, philanthropy is a key component of, your family's financial ideology. We believe doing it and putting it to practice is kind of the first and foremost step in raising financially smart kids. But what we've learned on top of that is parents and kids were asking for more. And this gets into a little bit of think about what you were asking around kind of the age appropriateness of things. And so we went out and we developed a financial literacy game called Level Up, which we include with the Greenlight app. And that allows parents and kids to kind of codify those money lessons through more traditional education, but it's been developed as short form video content with game constructs embedded to really encourage the kids with, if your kids are anything like my kids, pretty small attention spans. When there's a commercial on TV, their mind explodes. Like, what is this thing? Just in the kind of demand streaming based era. And so they're really like keyed towards those things that kids engage with today. And we offer lessons in varying complexities. And we also allow them to be segmented by financial literacy standards, both nationally and at the state level and by grade level.
How young a kid can start out using Greenlight?
Technically, there's no limit. That said, what we found is families will start to adopt around 6. You kind of hit peak Greenlight age around 9. And then through 9 to 16/18 is really when you're kind of that heavy usage. And then you turn 18, and that's why we partner with folks like yourself. Is it's time to get that first adult account, and we want to have trusted partners to send those kids to start their adult financial journeys. And so then we will promote an adult account for them to open up and to continue the lessons they learned with Greenlight in their adult life.
Ah, this sounds really cool, in fact.
Yeah, it is so cool. My daughter absolutely loves it. We use it it's the only way I can get her to do her chores is she wants to be able to check it off in her side of the app and, Mom, I did it. Did I get my allowance this week, right? And always have good conversations. Just looking at that information together, it just opens up so many opportunities to talk about exactly just that save, share, spend, earn, right? The concept around that. It's great.
So, Jenna, I take it you're of the philosophy you do the chore to earn the allowance, which
I am.
I would be like, okay, why? I'm with you 100%. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Who else is going to mow the lawn when they're 15?
Jenna,
go ahead,
you said something. Yeah, you said something really interesting that I wanted to key in on because it's something that we found with our parents, and I found it, being a parent with kids that use Greenlight. You talked about it. It creates those opportunities to have discussions about money. So some of the research that we've done is our kids say their parents are the trusted resource when it comes to learning about money, and through the controls and the kind of interactions that a kid can have within the app experience with mom or dad, it naturally creates these forced conversations about money, versus having to try to sit your kid down at the dinner table and talk about this stuff is a little bit different. But in context, your kid asks you for, hey, I need an extra $5. And you're like, well, wait, didn't you go through your allowance already? And now I can look through the Greenlight app and say, whoa, you burned that on online gaming. Like, what's going on there? It just creates these really natural opportunities to talk about money when your kid is really interested in it versus trying to kind of cram it down their throat, which we all know can be difficult.
Sounds great. We're going to take a quick break, but we're talking with Brandon Horne with Greenlight, an app for children's financial literacy, which we often talk about here on Good Money Moves with Jenna Taubel with First Alliance Credit Union. I'm Andy Brownell, and we'll be right back on News Talk 1340, KROC AM, and 96.9 FM.
Good Money Moves continues in moments with Andy Brownell and Jenna Taubel from First Alliance Credit Union. This is News Talk 1340, KROC AM, and 96.9 FM. We're talking Good Money Moves with Andy Brownell and Jenna Taubel from First Alliance Credit Union on Rochester's News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Welcome back. It is Good Money Moves. Andy Brownell with Jenna Taubel, First Alliance Credit Union, along with Brandon Horne with Greenlight. We're learning about Greenlight, a cool app, and Greenlight's partnered with First Alliance to make this available to members to help the little ones become financially literate. Mm-hmm. And Jenna, before we went into the break, you mentioned the chores.
Yeah.
This is kind of getting into the weeds, Brandon. But how does that work? Am I able to list the chores that each child is responsible for? Or is it more just in general they finished up whatever tasks they were supposed to do?
You can have as much control as you want. So you can go in and create chores for each of your kids. Those chores can be recurring on a daily, monthly basis. You can choose which days of the week that kids need to complete certain chores. You can tie a dollar amount to them if you want, so that if they only complete certain ones, your allowance will only pay out for what you've completed. There's a really cool part where if you've got kids, like they all have different personalities. And so some of them you might just trust innately. Some you might need a little extra verification. So we allow kids to send pictures of the completed chores just to kind of verify to mom or dad if they're not around that, hey, I did do the dishes, or I did make my bed, or whatever the case might be.
I'm actually kind of angry right now that this was not available when my kids were little. This is awesome.
Yeah, it's a great tool.
Okay, and part of financial literacy, and you brought it up, Brandon, yourself, is that idea of earning, saving, and giving. How does Greenlight bring those lessons home through the app?
Yeah, so the app is actually broken up by those categories, right? So when mom or dad or or the child are navigating the application, they're going to see things broken down by spending. And even within spending, there's the concept of spending anywhere, or mom, dad, or kid can go ahead and set up controls. So almost like a budget. So they can set up controls by restaurants or grocery stores or gas if you've got a driving teen. They can also set up individual store rules. So Jenna was mentioning during the break about her daughter spending at a convenience store. You could actually set up a spending rule for that convenience store that would act like a control, so that she could only spend so much money. So there's that from the spending side. On the savings side, there's savings and savings goals as kind of another component of it. Fun fact, we find that kids that set up savings goals contribute about 36% more to savings than those that don't. So a lot of these lessons that we teach adults, we see the exact same behaviors as a kid. We're just trying to influence them to create those good behaviors now so that they stick well into adulthood. And then on the earning side, go ahead, please.
No, you go ahead, please.
Yeah, and then on the earning side, that one's kind of interesting, and I'll kind of tie it back to giving. When mom or dad are setting up allowances, they can set allocations to spend, save, give, so that those kids learn that concept of paying themselves first. Something that we teach adults in terms of emergency savings and retirement and philanthropy or tithing, if that's an important part of your kind of financial life. So we're kind of setting those expectations now of like everything that lands into your account doesn't automatically mean you get to spend it.
Sure. I'm going to get into trouble here and say I wish I had this for my wife. Well, okay, be fair myself as well. I when you set up a budget, it would be really slick to have something like this to set limits for you automatically. And I can see where this would be really flexible as well, right? That if I have a child who is exhibiting really responsible behaviors, I could back off on the controls.
Exactly.
That's 100% correct. We actually see it for a number of use cases. Like you mentioned your wife, kind of comically, but if you think about adult kids with special needs, or aging parents in some cases that are living with their children and need a little bit of extra like help and oversight, where they have some autonomy, but you want some level of control to keep them from getting into too much trouble financially. We definitely see those use cases being applied with the Greenlight product.
Yep.
And how does it work with the debit card? Let's get to that. You issued a regular debit card through a financial institution?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So it's actually a prepaid debit card. One of the reasons we do that is we don't allow for overdraft. So there's a bunch of like little things that we do to try to keep kids or the customers using the card from getting into trouble. But yep, the kid gets issued a debit card. Mom or dad can turn that on or off via their app. So the access to that is up to them. They can only ever spend what they have in their spending portion. So they can't spend the savings amount. They can't spend the giving amount unless it's spent at a philanthropy. So all of those controls exist for mom and dad. So even though the kid may have the card, ultimate control lands in the hands of mom or dad.
And when my children do their chores, if that's the path I wish to follow, and I imagine, do I just transfer money from my account into the prepaid with their allowance?
Yeah, so there's two ways to do it actually. One is you can do that manually. So if a kid asks for money, you can manually do that, or through the allowance function. It'll actually happen automatically. So you can make sure that, as long as those chores are completed and there's a dollar amount tied to them, that amount is going to go out every week or month or however you choose to pay allowances. And that will automatically get allocated according to the percentage of spend, save, give that you've created with your family.
Do I get alerts as a parent that whatever it may be, they've completed their chores? I get the alert. I, not being a very trusting parent, I want to see the photos.
Yeah,
because the first thing I thought of, Brandon, was I'm checking off those chores just like that, and I'll seek forgiveness later.
Yeah, you sure do. You're going to get alerts on chore completion. You'll get alerts when a kid uses the card, so you can see where they spent it and how much they spent. We hear a lot of positive feedback that parents love that as almost like a safety feature. I know that when they use their card and I get the alert, I know where they are and I know that they're safe.
Yeah.
Which is kind of an interesting one. There's also a whole bunch of alerts that kind of foster those conversations about money that Jenna and I talked about earlier. So, for example, in order for a kid to move money out of savings and into spend, that has to go to request to mom or dad. So now well, are we moving money out of savings because we completed a goal and now we can go and buy the thing that we've been saving for? And that's a great opportunity for an attaboy and attagirl for doing a amazing job being a diligent saver. Or is it because you blew through your allowance on something maybe you shouldn't have spent your money on, and now we have a very different conversation?
Do you, does the app and your organization, as part of the education component, supply guidance to the parent guardian regarding loosening up the restrictions? I'm thinking as you move into the teenage years and you really want them to become a lot more self-reliant, because I can imagine with these restrictions and app alerts, if you didn't loosen them up by the time they went to college, they're going to be in trouble.
So it's family by family. We do provide a lot of content. We have a pretty extensive blog that includes things like leveraging actual data and usage of Greenlight. So everything from how much allowance should you pay your kid? So what we see on average is that parents pay their kids $1 per year of age per week. So I've got a 10-year-old daughter. She gets $10 per week as like a general allowance. We also have stuff, to your point, around how to leverage some of these tools. But interestingly, what we found is, while I think your intuition is correct, the kids get older and therefore get a little bit more freedom. What we've seen that kind of runs converse to that sometimes is they also become more expensive. So they're making bigger purchases.
Right.
And perhaps mom or dad might actually want more oversight. So in terms of like spending controls, we actually see the usage of that go up some as kids get older. Because, we want to make sure that, for example, they're spending money at the gas station to buy gas and not actually at the convenience store buying junk food.
This thing sounds really slick. And as I said before, I'm a little bit jealous that we did not have this available when my kids were going through all this, and it would have made life a lot more, a lot easier, actually, to bring home these lessons that you hope that the kids have by the time they leave the nest, that they have some sense of responsibility and the concept that all these things are tied together, that you earn it before you spend it, and you better save some of it, and you better share it in some way, shape, or form. We're talking with Brandon Horne with Greenlight, Jenna Taubel with First Alliance Credit Union. This is Good Money Moves, and we will return in a moment on News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Good Money Moves continues in moments with Andy Brownell and Jenna Taubel from First Alliance Credit Union. This is News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM. We're talking Good Money Moves with Andy Brownell and Jenna Taubel from First Alliance Credit Union on Rochester's News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
This is Good Money Moves on News Talk 1340 KROC AM 96.9 FM. I'm Andy Brownell, along with Jenna Taubel with First Alliance Credit Union, and today Brandon Horne with Greenlight. If you're just tuning in, really cool app to provide real life lessons to children on financial literacy. There's so many questions I have for you, Brandon, and so many different applications I can think of for this app model that you've developed. But I do want to go back to the video and the game learning component. And I'm going to make the comparison because I'm doing the foreign language thing with Duolingo, and it kind of slowly but surely progresses you along a path. Is it similar to that, where you have these little lessons and it kind of hammers home the different things you need to know about financial literacy at certain ages as they move forward?
Yeah, it's not dissimilar at all. So Duolingo is a great company that's really kind of nailed game mechanics, and we definitely apply some lessons learned from apps like that. It's split down by topics, so there's spending and investing and earning and saving, borrowing and protecting, and within each of those there are kind of basic lessons, and they progress in terms of complexity, so they can kind of grow and age with the customer. And we're constantly adding new content based off of both being able to age up, but also just in feedback from our customers and hearing what do they want to learn more about. And then some interesting pieces like that you mentioned, Duolingo, so some of the game mechanics. So we do a couple of things. We provide like scores so they can get 1, 2, or 3 stars depending on how well they do with a quiz after they've taken a lesson. They earn coins for how well they perform and how many lessons they complete. Kids can actually redeem those for skins, which basically just like changes the way the game looks. So you get like different backgrounds and things like that. We've seen that be really successful in driving repeat usage and getting the kids like firmly engaged.
Yeah,
we
and
allow
I will say it does work. My daughter, when we first got the app, she kept asking, "Can I play the Greenlight games? Can I play the Greenlight games? I want to get more coins." And I was like, "Yes, please do." Like, she just ate it up. Something I would have tried to sit down and teach her with words or something. It just doesn't stick the same when they're like playing a game. So it's great.
What I think probably like most about the idea of doing this, and Jenna, you've already mentioned it does work. It fosters that discussion. that maybe forces the discussion, because that may be the most important aspect, because as they move into adulthood, to have that channel of communication open as they move forward with all the big decisions that they'll be making as young adults, you've already laid the foundation to have those conversations.
Absolutely.
You nailed it, Andy. And one of the things that we found really interesting is we originally launched this for kids, and backed by popular demand, we ended up releasing it to parents. Now, we don't have all the game mechanics for them, but we are hearing, well, I want to watch this content too. And so parents are watching the same content that their kids are. They can track along to see which lessons their kids are completing. We also give them a couple of bullet points on some of these lessons to say, hey, here's some things that you can talk about with your kid to like further deepen their knowledge, because we heard a lot of parents say, I want some better tools to have these conversations. And then lastly, we implemented a way for parents to actually reward their kids. So beyond the Greenlight game mechanics and skinning of the app, mom or dad can actually pay monetary rewards to their kids for completing lessons if they so choose.
Nice. So Jenna, how did this come about, the partnership with Greenlight and First Alliance?
Yeah, so we've partnered. It's been almost a year that we've been partnered with Greenlight now. And really, we chose to work with Greenlight just because there was such great value alignment with how they approached teaching financial literacy to kids and really putting that save, spend, share model into this perfect, like hands-on learning experience that considered not only the kids' experience, but also that parent experience, and with all of that control and opportunity to learn right alongside their kids. It was just, again, that value alignment. We preach save, spend, share when we're talking financial literacy all the time. And this was really the first time we'd ever seen another organization kind of preaching that same methodology and really putting it into practice in an easy and fun way for families, which is really ultimately why we chose to partner with Greenlight. And I think additionally, it just provides our members with an additional benefit to banking with the credit union. So credit union members are eligible for the Greenlight Select plan at no cost when they sign up through our website, and then connect their First Alliance Credit Union account to the Greenlight app to fund that parent wallet, and then ultimately fund the kids' wallet. So it's just been a really great partnership, and we continue to want to grow the usage within our membership, because we do see so much benefit, and just the level of financial education that's just intrinsically tied to the way that the app works is just wonderful.
Yeah, it does sound wonderful. That's a great way to describe it. And of course, great information. Jenna, if we want to find out more about financial literacy and ways to pass that knowledge along to the younger people, as well as anything else to do with Good Money Moves, I imagine you have some additional resources we could look at.
Yes, absolutely. I always encourage our listeners to visit our website, firstalliancecu.com. There you can get subscribed to our blog. We release new financial tips and advice there every week. You can go back and listen to past episodes of this show at firstalliancecu.com/podcast or on krocnews.com. You can also subscribe to Good Money Moves on Apple, YouTube Music, and Spotify podcasts. And if you love our show, please leave us a review on your favorite platform. We'd love to know what you think. For access to Greenlight as a First Alliance Credit Union member, you can visit firstalliancecu.com. We have a banner on our homepage that'll take you right to the appropriate page to get registered. And then, of course, I strongly encourage you to reach out to our team at First Alliance Credit Union. We are here to help you start making good money moves today.
That's First Alliance Credit Union, federally insured by NCUA and an equal housing lender. We've been chatting with Brandon Horne with Greenlight, the app for financial literacy. Thanks, Brandon, for taking the time out of your day to chat with us and teach us about your product.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right, Jenna, we'll talk to you again next week.
Absolutely.
It's Good Money Moves right here on News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM.